Welcome to the exciting and fun world of large-scale model railroading, also known as garden railroading. These are the trains that go outdoors and indoors. Garden railroading is the fastest-growing whole-family hobby in the world. Now you can enjoy all of the fun of running trains with the buildings and little people, plus the fun to have living scenery with outdoor plants. Large-scale trains are just that, large. The parts are easier to see and handle, and there's so much more detail and action to enjoy. Big trains mean big fun, and you can run your trains in as much or as little of your yard and garden as you want. Your railroad can be anything you want it to be. Your railroad starts with a dream. Your yard becomes your own outdoor railroad empire. If you are like a lot of people, you begin your garden railroad with the purchase of a starter train set. Each of the manufacturer's starter sets include an engine, a couple of cars, enough track to complete a loop, and a power supply. Everything you'll need for a basic layout. If you haven't already, go ahead and set up your train indoors and get the feel of fun running your trains. One of the best parts of large-scale model railroading is that all of the trains from the leading manufacturers run on the same width of track. It doesn't matter which track brand you choose. The tracks are all about 45 millimeters or 1 3/4 inch wide. There are operating differences among manufacturers. Consult your hobby shop for advice. Where you decide to place your garden railroad is the first step. Some things you should consider are the traffic flow in your yard, where people walk and where you want them to watch your railroad operate. Is there electricity nearby with a ground fault interrupter, or GFI, to power the power pack that runs the trains? Using a GFI is extremely important for indoor or outdoor electrical safety. Get one. It is simpler if the area you plan to build your layout is relatively flat. However, some elevation in your layout can add interest to your railroad, and you can use some of the plants and ground features already in the yard. For this program, we'll use this area for our train layout. As you can see, it already has some plants. Remember, if you have mature trees, they may drop leaves and other debris that must be removed for good train operation. Also, dense tree foliage doesn't allow enough sunlight for your small plants to grow. We'll be adding to the basic circle of track that comes with most starter sets. You'll see how easy it is to make an oval with a siding. If you don't have any track yet, you'll need to get 12 pieces of straight track, enough curved track to make a circle, and 1 extra curved piece for the siding, and a switch from your hobby shop. You can use a left or right switch and an end of siding stop. Our finished layout will cover an area approximately 72 square feet. In many parts of the country, the ground will freeze and then thaw. This is not a problem for your garden railroad if you build the sub-road bed that allows the track to move as the weather changes or the ground shifts. Now, let's take a look at the tools you'll need to build your railroad. A garden shovel or spade to cut the grass and dig the trench for the roadbed, a hammer and a bunch of small stakes, string and a pair of scissors, finely crushed stone for the roadbed, a short length of 2x4 lumber, a level and a tamper, a garden hose or watering can, a small paintbrush, wire cutters and a small screwdriver, a tape measure and a pencil. Now, let's get started. Start by laying all of the track on the ground to see if you like where the train will run. You don't have to completely connect the rails in this step. Just put them close together so you can mark where the roadbed will go. After you're sure where you want the railroad, start putting stakes down to follow the outer edge of the rail ties. Make sure that you're very close to the ties on the curves. After you have all of the tracks surrounded with the stakes, run a string from stake to stake so you'll know where to dig up the grass. Take up the track before digging the roadbed. This next step is optional, but very helpful later on. We applied a weed herbicide to the layout area to prevent growth of unwanted vegetation. Follow the manufacturer's instructions on the use of the product. This will save pulling weeds and grass. Typically, in a few weeks, the ground is ready to be replanted. To get good drainage, you'll need to dig a shallow ditch 5 to 6 inches wide and about 3 inches deep. You can use a piece of 2x4 or a tape, but don't worry if you go a little bit too deep or wide. Next comes the stones or ballast that will hold the track in place, provide drainage, and make your train look and perform like real trains. You can use lots of different types of small stones, such as crushed limestone, marble dust. Others are called chicken grit or findings. Check with your garden or feed store or stone quarry near you. Do not use round stones or river rock. They look good, but are too light, and the round shape will cause it to wash away. Use crushed rock. Pour the stones into the trench slowly. When the trench is about half full, pack it with a tamper or the small 2x4, and then add more stone. You want to make sure that the stones are packed tightly. Water the trench to help pack down the stone-gravel mixture. Remember that part of the fun of large-scale garden railroading is working together with the whole family. Once the stone is even with the ground, tamp it again. Now, the base for the roadbed is in place. It's time for the next step. Laying the track is very easy, but make sure that all of the connections are tight and close. Not only do the wheels of the train roll on top of the track, but the electricity must flow through it. Connecting the track pieces is one of the most important parts of putting your railroad together. Each piece of track must be firmly connected with the next one to maintain electrical contact so that the low 24-volt DC current makes a good connection or your trains will not run smoothly. And a bad connection can also cause derailments as the wheels of the train pass over it. Later on, you may decide to solder the connections. The last step to hold the track in place is to put some of the small crushed stones between the ties and pack everything down. Double check that the track itself is level, both side to side and lengthwise. You may have to remove or add some stone to achieve a very level roadbed. When you get to the switch, be careful that you don't get any gravel from the roadbed in the moving parts. If you do, brush them out with the small brush. With everything level, water the track and roadbed to allow the stone gravel to settle. After it dries, check the level again and make any adjustments. Take your time and be accurate.